The Year 5 Season 2 is around the corner, supposed to be coming in October, and with it, it's coming the new best DPS Exotic SMG in the game. This weapon, it's insane. It's breaking records even with the base calculation without any talent added, any build. This weapon already hits 1.1 million DPS. So yeah, this is crazy, a lot to break down on this video. And if you guys enjoyed this video, a like on it would be super appreciated. If you're new, subscribe, and yeah, let's talk about this new exotic. So this new exotic SMG, it's called OUROBOROS. I honestly, I don't know how to pronounce that. I think it's OUROBOROS. So anyways, this is an exotic that's coming for Year 5 Season 2 that's gonna be tied to the new game mode called the Incursions. Now, if you are a Division 1 player, you should know about the Incursions, which was basically a mini raid that we had in Division 1. So with that said, more people actually will have a lot more chance to go and acquire this gun, because you do want to go and acquire this gun. This is not going to be the situation where the Eagle Barrel was locked behind the raid and you had to go get a team. With this, I believe and I hope you will be able to matchmake for a 4-man team and go for the Incursions with a low chance. I believe it's going to be a 10% chance to acquire this new exotic SMG. That's going to be one of the insane SMG on the next tile update. If, by the way, if the devs do not nerf this thing, because this thing is very strong. I was very surprised by this. And yeah, this currently is one of the craziest DPS, burst DPS that we have in the game. And not only DPS, the weapon overall and everything is just crazy. So let's take a look at this weapon. So let's start with the visuals. Now this exotic, it does look plain, but there's nothing wrong with that though, don't get me wrong. But usually when it comes to exotics, they do have a little bit of a spice, if you want to put it like that. They have different things in them that makes them look a little bit special. This one, it looks plain, it has a folded stock, and it looks exactly like one of the vectors that we have in the game, which by the way, it's the Vector SBR 9mm. If you take a look at it, let's inspect it, you can see the 9mm vector, it's about exactly the same as that new exotic SMG. And even we can take a look at the stock of these 9mm, you can see it can be folded right there, and if you could fold it, well, basically we got the same visual as the new OUROBOROS. Now that's for the visual though. Now for the stats, or might as well just say just the base damage, this weapon has the same base damage as the Vector SBR .45 ACP. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the white number right here on the top right side of your screen. That white number is the base damage of the weapon. So as you can see, the OUROBOROS has 40.4k per bullet as the base damage, but that's it. That's where the simulation stopped, because the RPM of this weapon compared to any other weapon is the highest RPM in the game. Like before, I believe the vectors always had, you know, the highest RPM, which is like 1200 RPM, I believe. And now with this new exotic, the RPM is 1650. That's gonna put this weapon at an insane DPS combined with that base damage. So for the core attribute, we have SMG damage and crit chance as always for SMGs, and then attributes though, we have damage to target out of cover. Now keep in mind, with the new system for exotics, you can always change the exotics attributes. Right now the old exotics, they have locked attributes, and this one, it's gonna be one of the best SMGs in the game and has unlocked attributes, so you can swap that attribute if you want to for whatever you need. And I do recommend damage to target out of cover. For weapon handling also, I do want to point out something in here. The accuracy, it's basically a vector accuracy, very stable also, but the reload time though, it's 1.4 seconds of reload time. That's another thing that's adding up to this weapon. 50 rounds on the magazine, 1.4 seconds of reload time. This SMG is gonna be insane. Now that's coming from the magazine itself. So if you take a look at the mods, this weapon has on the magazine plus 25% reload speed. Plus if you're over 1000 SHD, you're gonna get another 10% reload speed, that's what's gonna put you at 1.4 seconds of reload time. And this is before we add this talent to a striker, which is gonna give you weapon handling. So keep that in mind. On the scope or optic, we have another 10% crit hit damage. On the underbarrel, we have a 10% crit hit chance. And on the muzzle we have a 10% rate of fire. Now let's fall back and talk about the exotic talent, which is the least favorite thing on this weapon. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it will not be good, it just is not very interesting for me. I still use it, but I'm not using this weapon for the talent. I'm just using the weapon for the base weapon itself. The weapon is great, but the talent, I want to say straight away, this is a PvP talent. This weapon talent will be great on PvP, especially with all the status effect that we have out there on the DZ. On PvE though, I mean, it works again, but it's not exactly what I'm looking for. I have it there just like a bonus in my mind. But for PvP, this is gonna be very good. Now, before I show you guys some comparison between this weapon and other SMGs, let's talk about the build that I did use to run solo capital building legendary, and I was shredding to my enemies. So it is this build right here where I am using 4 pieces of the Hunter's Fury. By equipping 2 pieces of this gear set, we gain a 15% SMG damage, and by equipping the 3rd piece, we gain 20% armor on kill and 100% health on kill. With the 4th piece though, we have the Apex Predator talent, which I did explain this talent before on another video, where basically this talent, instead of 45% amplified damage that many people think it is, no, this is actually 53% amplified damage that this gear set can give once you have it all activated with the buffs. Now on all of them I do have the attribute as a critical hit damage, and on 3 of them I have core attribute weapon damage, and on the mask I did have armor in here to just get me over that 1.1 million armor. For the chest piece I choose the Grupo Sombra in here for that 15% crit hit damage, core attribute weapon damage, attribute in here will be critical hit damage and critical hit chance. Again, just getting close to that 60% critical hit chance and not passing that 60 and then dumping everything else on critical hit damage. That's the way I go. Talent on this chest piece is obliterated. That's basically 25% weapon damage to my build, and with this weapon right here, it's so easy and so fast to activate obliterated. For the backpack is the famous and my favorite exotic gear in the game, the Memento backpack. This backpack gives you the 3 core attributes, weapon damage, armor and skill tier, and it has an amazing talent, kill confirmed, which is gonna give you weapon damage bonus, armor and skill efficiency depending how many buffs you pick up from the floor by keep on killing your enemies. So the backpack Memento again still is one of the greatest backpack, and I still use it. Now with that said, on this build, if we take a look at the stats for these OUROBOROS, we have 59% critical hit chance. As you can see, I said you want to get close to that 60% cap, you can see it right here on the right side, but you do not want to pass over it and waste all of that crit chance. Instead, just dump it on critical hit damage, and that's what I did. For the offensive, we have 85% all weapon damage and 45% submachine gun damage. So with the stats of this build and the exotic SMG OUROBOROS, if you throw that on my calculation sheet that I have, you can see that we're gonna be hitting about 15 to 17 million DPS with this gun, and this is not even the highest DPS build, by the way. 17 million, 15 million DPS, that's very high for an SMG, right? Now, so let's go back in the game and swap this SMG. Instead of that, we're gonna put Lady Death, right? And then we're not gonna swap anything else. We're gonna go on the stats, check the Lady Death. We still have 59% crit hit chance because they both have about the same crit chance. And then on the crit damage though, Lady Death has a little bit less, 137% critical hit damage, right? And then if we take a look at the offensive, about the same, 85 all weapon damage and 45% submachine gun damage. So with that said, if we throw that stats with the Lady Death on my spreadsheet calculation, you can see that the Lady Death on the same build, it hits about 8 to 9 million DPS. Again, the Lady Death, it's nothing without that talent. You have to run to activate the talent for those 32 bullets. So let's take a look at if we add that talent. So right here, right, the multiplicative talent in here. Let's add that 75% that you can get from the Lady Death. You can see the damage will go per bullet about 1 million, right? But the final DPS still about 14 to 15 million DPS, and that's about it. Now another comparison that I do want to make is because of, you know, this weapon having the same base damage as the Vector. We're gonna take a look at the Vector, actually more specifically the Dark Winter. So the Dark Winter has about the same base damage, but the RPM it's lower. So with that said, if we add that to this build without changing anything on the build, let's take a look, and we have about 59% crit hit chance on this weapon with 137% crit hit damage with this Dark Winter, right? Let's go back to that spreadsheet that I have for calculation. I'm gonna change this Lady Death for the Dark Winter. I'll do it live so you guys can see. Dark Winter, choose it right there, and then right here it's about the same. Let's take this out because it does not have that. Now the Dark Winter will give you 50% crit hit damage from that talent, right? So if we add that to right here, so it's gonna be from 137 to 187. Click enter. So the Dark Winter will be about 12 million to 13 million DPS, because that's about it. So yeah guys, what you guys think of this new SMG coming in the new Year 5 Season 2? I believe this is gonna be insane. Now keep in mind, everything that I just showed you right now is on the PTS. What does the PTS mean? It's a public test server, which means things can change, so you gotta take this with a grain of salt. They might nerf this or they might not. So I appreciate you guys' support. Thank you for all my members. I appreciate you guys supporting me. It means a lot to me. And if you guys want to become a member of the channel, click that join button. There is different prices and tiers that you can choose. And yeah, that actually helps me a lot. So I appreciate all of that. With all that said, I appreciate you guys' support just by watching. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace out, everybody.